Alright, we're going to do an update. We are on the farm. I've moved a fair bit now to the farm. Probably not a quarter, maybe a quarter. Still plenty more to go. So this is sort of the drop-off point, especially for the bigger ones. I'm only really selecting... Oh, there's a cool little spider there. I'm only really selecting the stuff that I want to breed, cross-pollinate, keep, because it's a really nice looking one. So for example, this, I think this is more so for breeding. That could turn into something nice, which is also in turn be good for breeding. My whole, end goal picture is just to have a massive stock of cactus to cross with and different characteristics. Got some crests here. I'll be keeping all the crests, of course. They're too nice to sell for me. So if any of these seem to fall over, like this one here, that one I'll probably get put in the ground within a week's time. So any that are falling over get put straight into the ground, because they just cannot, it's too much effort to try and stand them up with sticks or lay them on the ground, because then they'll get really badly burnt. Already we've been having, yesterday was about 36, 37, maybe even 38. And the day before that was pretty hot too. This guy's gotten burnt in a very unusual way. I suppose not very unusual, but I don't often see that. But they're holding in there. It's a lot tougher here than in Sydney. And then we got a bunch of smaller ones here. And the reason why they're sort of spread out like this is because this is where it's the flattest. Like right there is sloped, then it's kind of flat, pretty flat there, and pretty flat there. But that's like, there's a dip there, that's all sloped going down that way. So I have to be specific on where I'm putting them all, which is a pain. And then everything grows so well here, all the weeds just come straight up through them. Yeah, but these guys got a decent amount of burnt yesterday. Not too bad. These guys have been here for a little while now. This guy's struggling a little bit. You can see the discoloration there. But they're all looking good. They've got some growth on them. We've got some rain coming tonight and tomorrow, so that should really kick them off. And so at the moment I'm sort of looking at these guys and I'm picking out the ones that I really like, and those ones are going in the ground. So like this guy, he will go in ground, in ground, in ground, definitely in ground. And stuff like this, I'll probably just up pot that into a bigger pot and just see what he turns into. Some of these may not be anything, and if they really grow up to be nothing that I want, even for crossing into another clone or something, then I'd probably just sell it off. And this guy is alright. Like, he's got this 4 rib going on, and he's very blue. I just hope he gets a bit thicker, but we'll see what happens. I'd probably put him in the ground, and worst case is 2 years later I'd just dig it up and sell it. So I'm probably going to have to remove all these pots, dig up all this to make it dirt, and I'll put them back again. So then we got this lot. So I've basically grabbed majority of all the smaller cactus, majority of the cactus that have multiple in the pot, because they get a bit more difficult when they get too big, whereas the big ones, they're already difficult. yeah, and in here got quite a few lookers. And here's some. This guy was at the front. He didn't get the afternoon sun, but he did yesterday. Like usually he doesn't get that much sun, and so he's gotten pretty burnt. We'll see how he goes. But just, yeah, just a lot of this stuff. I'm just really excited to see what they're going to look like. So none of this will go in the ground yet. These guys I'm probably going to put in the ground because there are quite a few of these pots that have, you know, from 4 up to, I don't know what, like probably 12. Like that one's got quite a few in there. I don't know if I'll up pot those. Maybe I'll put a couple in pots and the rest in the ground because it's just too much effort to for the soil, the space. I don't really have anywhere that's flat enough to prop them up in pots at the moment. So I've done all this. I dug up all this, all the grass, and tried to flatten it as best I could, but it's a lot of effort. So when I get to it, a lot of these bigger ones will go in ground, and I'll just put them, you know, maybe half a meter apart. And whenever they get too big and I don't want them, I sell them. If I want them, then I'll dig them up and put them somewhere else. Got a bunch of all these other ones. Recently bought from Australian Cactus and Succulent Supplies or something. They're a bit burnt too, but we'll see. And then we have to drive to the next spot. As you can see, all these guys I've got planted. So here we have rose, not specifically neat at all. I don't really care about them being neat. I'm happy for it to be, you know, semi-organic. But my house will sort of be up there, and then I can have all my cactus down the hill. This is pretty sloped at the moment. You can see the angle which these guys are standing straight up. And yeah, I suppose we'll go through them. So this lot will be all my absolute favorites. Some I may regret and I'll pull them out and I'll put something else in, but that's not an issue. I've dug all these holes and I've planted them. It won't be that hard to dig a couple back up. TA07 cross TA08. Genuinely really like this one. But yeah, sort of, you know, for me personally, this is sort of my best of the best out of my collection. And so I can come down here and look at them as I please. These ones aren't for sale. Maybe sometimes if there's a pup on them, I'll cut the pup. And I'll also use them for breeding, like crossing with other ones. But yeah, and if I ever think, if I ever run out of room, which I don't think I will, then I just, if I don't like this one in 5 years, I just dig it up, move it somewhere else, or dig it up, sell it, whatever I want. This one hasn't grown too much since I've put it in, because you can still see all the rub marks when I was moving it. But this one is a thick boy. Tim 01. Ooh, and we've got the scopular cola cross sharks. Looking fat. And over here is pretty good soil as well, like better than some other areas. Some other areas are just super dry. This is a bit more clay than I would want, but in Sydney it was also clay and they did alright, so I'm not too worried. This one, I kind of regret putting it here. I don't think this is as good as I thought it was. You know, I still enjoy looking at it, but I probably shouldn't have put it in here. So this one will get dug out in maybe a year or 2 years, maybe never, I don't know, we'll see. This one, real nice blue. I think once this thing really takes off and gets some growth on it, you won't see like all the marks on it there, and it'll just look a lot cleaner, I think, once it's growing like here. So I know all these rub marks, they'll be gone. That is Peru John cross Dawson's Peru. This one's an unknown one. Gets slightly mutated. We got Tig cross Sharks Blue. Then we got a New Zealand Scop open pollination. He's looking nice. And these guys have been getting absolutely blasted with the sun and heat, and they're doing surprisingly well. There's a bit of scars from moving, but they're not burning. I suppose at this size, you know, especially in Sydney, like I did have these guys in a pretty good position for sun, so they were kind of prepared. But they're doing a lot better than I thought they would. This is unknown, but it's obviously Scopula cola cross something blue. Maybe it's another Sharks blue cross. I know there's a few Scops cross Sharks. Yeah, but you can never be sure. You just don't know. We got Sharks Blue cross Sausage. I can see the Sharks Blue in this because of the bend, I think. Sorry, the Sausage, because Sausage it just never seems to grow really nice and straight. And I think some of the photos we've seen, when it segments, it'll sort of just tip over. That's a bird shit right there. But yeah, it's like it's kind of half and half of Sausage and Sharks. What I dream of having one day is, say I have like a nice flat area here and I have all my crosses. So if I had a Sausage cross Sharks Blue here, I would have every single seed that I germinated all in rows right next to each other. So then I could see all the different types of, all the different phenotypes and all the different characteristics. And you could see one that looks more like Sharks and then one that looks more like Sausage and everything else in between. And it would make it easier to select what the best genetics is out of that, if they're all next to each other. This one is a bit iffy, not sure how this one will turn out when it's older. Obviously all of the stuff that I've shown you has been on video before, but this one usually gets the sort of spindly orange spines coming out of the top, but only sort of like one on each aerial. So it's sort of unique. I haven't seen anything too similar, but it's not unique where it's, you know, the best thing you've ever seen. But we'll see, it might look a bit nicer once it gets older. And that is Jules Giant cross Pachanoi cross SSO2 cross Psychonaut. No idea in what order that is. And then we got one of my absolute favourites at the moment, HBO4 cross T Cusquensis. And I obviously haven't seen it with new growth since dormancy, since last summer. So in dormancy, you know, they never look as good as when they've got that fresh growth on, but this guy's a little bit late to the party compared to some others, but he's pumping it out. Got those nice thick coloured spines, and classically it'll put this long spine down to the bottom and then 2 spines out to the side. And then it's got a bit of a nice little notch inwards. And it's not as skinny as a normal Bridgesii. So there's obviously some Bridgesii in this, but I'm hoping it gets quite thick. We'll see. It's still quite young, so it's got a lot of potential to go. We got a PC cross here. PC pack cross Dawson's short spine Peshekii. So I feel like you never really see any nice PC crosses. Predominant clone, I think that is. That's not a bud either, by the way. That's just a spine that's come off during transportation. But I don't mind the look of him. I can see the PC in him, and I can see, obviously, the DSST. But I think I'll be alright. I think this one's TPM cross N1. One of my favourite mutants. It'll crest, it'll grow mutated with spines, grow mutated without spines, it'll terminate, it'll go dicot, it'll also grow normal. It just, yeah, there's all sorts of weird growth. I really like it. Sharks cross Ivan. Nice, clean, fat looking specimen. A few spines lost in the journey. TPM cross Sharks Blue. This one's a beauty. It got Eden at the centre there, so it's terminating. But that's fine because it always pups and it, you know, you get something even nicer. But it's been like that for a little while now and no pups yet, so we'll see what happens. But he is thickening up, like he's very juicy, which is very good for this weather since it's so hot and sunny. But yeah, very thick, juicy, probably, yeah, about to pump out some pups any minute now. This one is unknown. I think he has potential as well. This one was grown where it doesn't get as much water. So I've noticed when these guys don't get as much water, they won't grow as thick as others that do get more water. They will grow a little slower, a little thinner, and just in general they won't look as good if they don't get enough water. And that goes for the same amount of sun. But this guy did get a bit of sun, like enough sun, but just not enough water. So now that he's in this new spot, Hopefully he will definitely get more water than what he was, and he's in ground. So all of these guys have never been in ground. So I'm really excited to see the growth that they're going to get. I've been putting down frass, some go-go juice, getting this soil living. I've already been seeing some worms in the soil, so I know the soil's decent. But we've put down this frass, which gets those microorganisms going, the go-go juice. So we are going to turn this soil just super nutritious. We're gonna, yeah, these guys are gonna thrive. Again, here is one of my favorites. Capel Pacanoi cross Big Ass Peru, I think it is. I think this guy is quite unique. Every now and again, it'll get its V's and it'll extend them almost all the way into the center, and it does these, but not all the time. So I'm really hoping that as it's getting older, it's doing it more, and so I'm hoping that mature growth will, there it is again. It'll be going at least into that, but for every single area. That would be a really nice characteristic to have. See, nothing there. And a little bit on that side. See, they're quite nice. Those are quite nice. It'll also do a bit of this. So that'd be cool. It kind of has a CSD vibe to it for me, if it continues this kind of stuff. But we'll see. Quite thick as well. It is actually a little dehydrated by the looks of it today. Usually it's a bit plumper. But regardless, it's still decently thick. This one's been catching my eye lately. I didn't really notice it maybe a year or two ago, but I've quite liked it recently. Rose 2 cross J3. I don't know what J3 is. I'd have to look that one up. Yeah, that was nice. He's a bit messy. A few spines all broken off. And yeah, it's got, what is it? 7 ribs there. And 5 ribs on that one. Which is, I mean, yeah, it's 2 ribs different. And it really gives a different look having either more ribs or less ribs. So it'll be interesting whether this one will get more ribs, or this will get less ribs, or multiple arms will always have 5 or 7 or 6. But yeah. And the last one is this guy that everyone seems to go crazy about, but I don't really think it's that great. I really like the middle rib, but the pup, well, I've cut it now, but the pup didn't have the middle rib. So it tells me that this isn't a super strong gene, and it's kind of stopped pushing it out now. Oh, it's still there, and there.